Okay, so this will be a probably short-ish video of the status nature type, which admittedly tend to run a little long, but I'll see. So recent working on the 3D engine has included, among other things, moving it to being rendered via the GPU, and also partly moving it over to being multi-threaded, at least on Windows, or on Windows builds and similar, and also adding sound effects and a music player. So, as can be noted there, yeah, that was one of my own attempts at making tracker music, but admittedly, my attempts at tracker music are neither particularly good nor particularly fit the mood I'm going for this, but still, that's what I had on hand. So yeah, I have other songs as well, but like, you know, I didn't make them, so that's a limiting factor there. So as can be noted, this is still using raycasting to build a list of visible block faces, but differs in that it is using the native GPU for rendering the geometry, or at least the geometry after it's generated generated a vertex array for all the block faces. So in this, I had gone and moved the raycasting over to its own thread. So that happens independently of the main render thread, and generally happens at a slightly lower frame rate. So it's currently at 128 blocks draw dist, but I can increase it in theory. So now I'm at 192 blocks draw distance. One downside of both using the hardware GPU and also the larger render distances is that it has increased memory usage. It's right at the moment hanging out at around 130 megs as per Task Manager. I look up here. Actual engine itself, it looks like is using up about 52 megs for the heap. So yeah. So 52 megs for the heap. I'll see if I can find the stats for the so it looks like about 12 megs for the main voxel terrain system, and an additional around 5 megs for a lot of other buffers. Yeah, looks like, yeah, that 5 megs is mostly going into the region files, or buffers for region files and similar. As can be noted, I do now have a few sound effects, though more work is needed in terms of gathering up useful sound effects and putting them in the relevant context for which sound effects would be expected. For example, those dialogue boxes probably could use sound effects or similar, but they don't have any yet. That was just it. Triggering a breakpoint I had set for whenever it increased the size of the render arrays. But that wasn't entirely unexpected because I had increased the draw distance there from what it was initially. I can, in theory, crank the draw distance up further and see if it handles this. So in theory now it's trying to expand the draw distance up to 256 blocks, but seems to be struggling probably with the raycasting there. Actually, I recognize that pattern there. Yeah, it looks like it's generating an artifact that happens when it hits the limit for the total number of blocks it can put into the array. When it when the raycasting hits a certain upper limit, currently set at 256,000 blocks, it will not add any more blocks. So, but because the blocks take a certain amount of time to clear out, it can result in what seems like a bit of lag when it comes to clearing out the blocks and adding in new ones when moving. For example, where we came from, the blocks are starting to catch up on unloading, or yeah, catching up with falling off the end of the list, and new blocks will get pulled in. But because it's at the limits, it is slowed down. This could be improved in theory by further increasing the limit. Increasing the maximum limit mostly comes at a memory cost. So dropping it back down to 192. And it is mostly catching up. So, as can be noted, had worked some on making the glass blocks work a little bit nicer. And also this chain link fence block, which can be inferred is meant to sort of resemble chain link fence. So There is a certain amount of latency due to the raycasting, but in general it seems to be mostly holding up. Trying to multi-thread this engine did involve a fair bit of debugging effort, because the terrain system isn't entirely thread safe, so multiple threads trying to interact with the terrain system at the same time can lead to fairly obvious chunk corruptions. I had added some logic into the terrain system to try to detect and avoid writing corrupted chunks to or back to the saved version of the world, but yeah, it's not entirely a foolproof strategy. But I appear to have since resolved the corruption bugs. As for whether people would consider raycasting to be a valid strategy for a game of this sort is kind of yet to be seen, but at least in the basic sense which I'm testing it, it appears to be working arguably better than might have been initially expected, in that it is more or less functional. It is quite likely, though, that in a multiplayer setting, all the raycast rendering would be done on the client side, as raycasting wouldn't make any sense, or raycast rendering wouldn't make any sense to be done on the server, but yeah, and somehow I didn't think through like what I was trying to go for there. Yeah. But quite likely, yeah. The server would need to stream a series of chunks representing the current state of the terrain system to the client, and the client would be responsible for doing any rendering related tasks, such as raycasting. Generally, deficiencies of the raycast system are more obvious when flying around than when running around at ground level. I don't remember offhand whether the last video I made was before or after I added things like stairs and similar, but either way, as can be noted, I now have stairs and slabs and other sorts of blocks like that. Oh, and they also have physics now. Initially before moving over to hardware rendering, I did have slabs, but they still still used full block physics. So, be noted. Yeah, I can't just walk up on a normal size block, but I can just walk up on a slab. I miss those stairs. Similarly, you can just walk upstairs. Basically same ideas in Minecraft, but presumably pretty much everyone has seen Minecraft already, so nothing notable there. Due to a technical limitation of the way things are currently implemented, there is a minor flash whenever crossing the world seam, but we'll probably fix that at some point. Also, I guess I can mention that I also now have mouse look, which has probably been obvious thus far. So yeah, I can place blocks and so on, but nothing unexpected there. I could probably also use a sound effect. I think I mentioned already that I was using mod files for the music playback, which it's not just, tracker music in general, but more specifically the original mod format. In theory, I could add S3M playback or some other formats, but that would be, well, I'd have to write code to do so. I had reused a mod player I had written previously as an experiment on my BGX2 ISA project, but it was semi-useful here. I just sort of threw the mod player into the engine and used that for music playback, as opposed to going and messing around with MIDI playback, which would have been the main alternative. There are technically pros and cons between mod playback and MIDI playback, but I went with mod this time. Admittedly, I don't really have musical skills when it comes to either format, so yeah. So yeah, that was a mod conversion of a previous, like a partly derived from a previous song, which well, it's not that one, which I'd done in a different format. But so yeah, this one was done in a form or another format that's supported by OpenMPT, but not by my code. Not sure if anyone would have recognized it. So yeah, the ordering is technically different, and stuff, and I'd edited it down to 4 tracks rather than the original 5, and also I'd left out the voice clips, but yeah. But yeah, admittedly, I'm not a musician, so this is what it is. Here's another song I had, but it's noted it fits the theme even, or the mood even less, so yeah, this one also worked, but as noted, it doesn't entirely fit the mood I was trying to go for, or I was thinking of trying to go for, so yeah. But it is still an open question if I can make anything that has a different mood to it. But most of my attempts at throwing stuff together in tracker software do tend to come out with a sort of I guess more percussive and like creepy style. I think this is another one I'd made, but previously as a mod format one. Yeah, so probably get the idea for that one, but yeah, so this is another one I made quite a while ago. And of course, yeah, this one is more just something. Yeah, I'm not going to play that one. Technically, it does include audio that like is not strictly public domain or similar, so it's probably not ideal. And similarly, this song is a different one that sounds a lot better, but I didn't make it, so that's why I'm not playing it. But yeah, I'm trying to think of if there's anything else I can note at the moment. Yeah, I guess it's basically to point out that this sub project is still ongoing. Or at least I haven't totally gotten or lost interest in it and gone off and working on something else yet, so something. I will call it all for now, probably. So, yep.